This story is about my three great-uncles who were brothers and how they participated in World War II. There was Uncle Thomas, Uncle Al, and Uncle Louis, and they were all from Italy, but when they were younger, their parents decided to move to America to find a better future for them and their family. When the war started, my three great-uncles had a very strong urge to fight in the war and to defend America even though it wasn't their home country. So without being forced to, they decided to join the war. Unfortunately, Uncle Al and Uncle Louis had to lie about their age because they didn't quite reach the age of 18 that the government was accepting. In 1941, the beginning of the war, Uncle Thomas was assigned to be in the Navy, and so by ship, he and thousands of other soldiers made their way to Naples in Italy, and they stayed at the coast shooting down German submarines. Uncle Thomas was a gunner at most times, and he was also a useful engineer, so when anything would happen to the ship that they were staying in, he would always be the one that could be relied on for help. Throughout the whole war, Uncle Thomas just fought from the ships in the Italian waters for 4.5 years. My two younger uncles, Al and Louis, joined the army and the Marines. They traveled by plane from America to France in 1941, and they fought there until they invaded Germany to try and help the Jews from the Nazis. Uncle Louis was specifically put into the Special Forces group, and they trained them to kill and to use weapons properly. Because Uncle Louis was very good at sprinting, and he won many championships for running in his school, he was put into the front line, and his job was to attack the enemy and throw hand grenades at them. However, his place in the front line didn't last long, because after about 6 months, he realized that he didn't want to kill people, he wanted to help them. So instead, he was the guy who would help the injured soldiers, and he was given a Red Cross, meaning that whenever anyone needed help, he would always be there to help them. To this day, Uncle Louis still strongly believes in helping people and is now a priest in a Catholic church. Every 6 to 8 months, my three great-uncles would come back home to America, Brooklyn, for their furlough, which lasted about 4 to 5 days at a time. And this was the scariest time of the war for their family because they never knew if they would come back or not. But when they did come back, there was always a feeling of relief that washed over everyone because they knew everything was going to be okay and they knew that one day the war would end. There was a point in the war in 1942 where my three great-uncles ended up fighting their own country, Italy, because at the time there was a powerful dictator named Benito Mussolini, and a lot of Italians would listen to him and agree with whatever he says. Unfortunately, listening to Mussolini was not one of the best ideas that the Italians came up with because what happened is that Hitler threatened Italy and Japan and told them a lot of lies about how if they went to fight with the Nazis, the world would become a better place because there would be no Jews. So the dictator Mussolini listened to Hitler and told Italian men that they should join the war and fight alongside the Germans against America. Japan was also pulled into the war because they believed Hitler, and so Germany, Italy, and Japan became alliances. It was very hard for my three uncles to fight their own people, the Italians, but they had no choice. America gave them a better life, and they thought that they owned their life to the country. And plus, they were also very devastated by the fact that the Italians agreed with Hitler and Mussolini was doing what he was doing. After about 3 years since the Italians joined Hitler, they started to realize that everything Mussolini had said was a total lie because the whole world was starting to destruct under the circumstances of the war, and Italy was doing very bad in trade. And the people living there had to start immigrating to other countries to try and find safety. Because of this realization, and because the Italians felt somewhat betrayed by their leader and they resented him so much, they decided to hang him on a lamppost in the street, and they threw rocks at him until he died. Now Germany was left by itself again because Italy has discontinued the alliance, and so did Japan. So in the end, Hitler killed himself and his girlfriend, and the Japanese, Italians, and the German soldiers all surrendered, and the war ended in 1945 in September. My great-uncles stayed the whole 4.5 years in the war, and none of them died during the war. Two of them are actually still alive, but Uncle Thomas sadly passed away about a month ago at the age of 98. Thank you for listening.